Alright, let's talk Shazam. Have I ever mentioned how much I absolutely love movies that know that the premise is not even remotely serious, and they just go the whole 9 yards with it? Like, hey, don't take this movie too seriously. We know it ain't serious, so you shouldn't take it serious either. They did that, like, to the nines with this movie, and I absolutely couldn't have been happier. By the way, guys, if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, especially if you're new, and leave a thumbs up on the video, as it really helps the channel out. Plus, it gives me an idea of what you like to watch on my channel. And make sure to tap the bell, that way you always know when I have new content for you to watch. Now, with that shameless plug out of the way, let's get back to talking about the movie. So, Shazam is a movie that when I originally got told that, hey, they're making a Shazam movie, pretty much the expression I had on my face was, they're doing that? Now, in Shazam's defense, I had the exact same response when they told me they were doing a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and look how well that turned out. And Christ, like, the first movie did phenomenally, and then the second one did even better, even though, personally, I did like the first one better. But this is a movie where the premise is so absurd that the only direction it can go is up. The whole point of Shazam has always been, and forever will be, what if you gave a kid superpowers? And in the DC universe, you have 3 different avenues where you can get your superpowers. You can be a metahuman or an alien, like Superman. You can get your power essentially through technology and training, like Batman. And then Shazam and Wonder Woman kind of represent the third spectrum of that, which is magic. This movie does have a lot surrounding the concept of magic and how magic works in this universe, and they actually pull it off in such a fashion that you go, alright, I buy it. So I would be doing this movie a massive disservice if I did not commend the guy that played Captain Marvel himself. Don't bother getting mad, he had the name first. And that's Zachary Levi. Zachary Levi is pretty much on the screen about 65% of the time, with Asher Angel, the guy who plays Billy Batson, or the kid rather, who plays Billy Batson, taking up the other 35%. But the transition between the two actors, while maintaining the same attitude, is just done flawlessly. You see 2 different representations of the character, but the attitude remains the same, and that's a very hard thing to pull off, especially when you have 2 people of such a drastically different age difference. And it was just beautifully done. Now, I will be the first one to admit I am trying very, very hard to talk about this movie without revealing any spoilers, so pretty much what I'm going to do is, if I reference anything in the movie, I'm only going to talk about the stuff that everyone has already seen because it was in the trailers. And that being said, is always one of the issues that I tend to have with a movie, is you see a ton of trailers, and the trailers do a very good job of whooping it up, and then all the good stuff was in the trailers. Thankfully, Shazam does not follow that formula. There's a good amount of the really funny stuff in the trailers, but there's still a ton of really funny stuff in the movie that we never did get to see. With, admittedly, the best part of the movie being him trying to figure out his powers. And, I won't mention that one because that's a spoiler, so I'll talk about him finding out he was bulletproof. Him finding out he was bulletproof was easily one of the funniest moments in the movie, and it is elaborated on in further detail in the movie. I won't explain how, but you guys are pretty smart. I'm pretty sure you'll figure out how. And it was just beautifully done. It was a good story. They didn't overcomplicate anything. It was catchy. The dialogue was nice and snappy. There was a ton of really, really funny moments. Mark Strong, I'll openly admit I don't know too much about Shazam's background, and I know even less about his villains. Like, the only villain I'm really even remotely knowledgeable about, and even then it's about that much when it comes to Shazam supervillains, is Black Adam. And that's just because you guys see my Twitch channel. I've ran into Black Adam enough times. So, good old Injustice. He did an absolutely fantastic job of kind of portraying this dude that came across a certain event where he ultimately failed in achieving what he was trying to get, and then spent the rest of his life trying to return to that moment to prove that he was indeed up to the task. And ultimately that's where Shazam comes in. So Mark Strong has always proven that he is very good at playing the cold, calculated, often vindictive character. He's very, very good at that. And I mean, hell, he was one of the only things that was actually good about the Green Lantern movie. Yes, that was Mark Strong back in the Green Lantern movie playing Sinestro. It's the same guy. So, if he can actually turn out something good from that heap of a movie, and yes, the irony is not lost on me that I am bashing that movie while wearing a Green Lantern hoodie. He really brings a return to form in this movie, and definitely redemption worthy, I would most definitely say. But he is very much a side piece, with the focus on this movie being very much about Billy and his new foster roommate, Freddy, who kind of guides him along the way of trying to figure out his powers, what he should and shouldn't be doing as a hero, all the while still having that kid mentality of like, hey, suddenly I'm an adult, and there are certain things I can do now. Like purchasing beer at a convenience store, or visiting certain adult establishments, which I won't go into any detail. That part was insanely funny, and I want you to go see it for yourself. Now, with all that being said, I am singing a ton of praise about this movie. There are some setbacks. The third act really, really drug. I felt like they're really kind of drawing this out when this could have been wrapped up maybe about 10 minutes ago or so. But I have to give the director credit where credit is due. A lot of people will go to comic book movies and get irritated because, oh, well, that's not how this happened in the books. That's not how that happened in the comics. This dude treated basically the entire first volume of the New 52 Shazam trade paperback, and he treated it like a football playbook, like just page after page after page, with the only thing really changing was they didn't use Black Adam as the villain. They used Mr. Zavanna. I'm not sure if he's a doctor, so I'm just going to say Mr. Zavanna, Mark Strong's character, as the main villain instead of Black Adam. Now, here's where I ultimately feel like the common moviegoer, this is where Shazam is ultimately going to lose them. Me being an avid fan of superheroes and having read books and going back and researching things of like, okay, just how different was this from the film? And then knowing the difference between the two, because there is such a emphasis on kids, family, I feel like a lot of people are going to get the wrong message from this movie, assume that it's geared towards children, and then they're not going to want to really be bothered with it when it is the furthest thing from. It's still, while it does have its high moments of fun and light, for lack of a better term, there's some still very dark and grim moments in this film, and there is still a fair amount of adult themes, cursing, violence, so on and so forth. Not like bloody, gory violence, but just enough to get the point across of like, oh, hey, we are in fact watching a PG-13 movie. But right at the third act, and I won't spoil it for everyone, I will say this, though. Shazam has always, and I do mean always, he's never been a solo kind of guy. There's a reason why they use the term Shazamly, or the Shazam family. Since he's been written back in like the 1940s, he's had like this Marvel family, because back in the day he was referred to as Captain Marvel, and that will come into play by the third act. I won't say how. If you've already read the trade paperback volume 1 of New 52 Shazam, you'll already know how. But if you haven't read that or you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm not going to spoil that for you. But emphasis on family is a very big thing with this theme, and that's something you need to kind of keep in mind in the back of your head going into this film to kind of understand the message that they're trying to convey. Because I could see right away, the moment they did what they did, half the parents in the audience just mentally checked out. And I really want to see people not do that. Like, I even looked around the theater and saw quite a few parents. Because, like, there were parents and children and all this different type of shit. The moment the third act came around to what I'm talking about, without revealing anything to you guys, I literally looked around and saw, like, a ton of parents just kind of going, I beg you, definitely do not do that. Keep an open mind. This movie is meant to, like, have some fun. Like, Captain Marvel, Shazam, he's always been the fun aspect of the DC universe. Everything is bright and sunny. Even in Justice League, Batman described Captain Marvel, because that's what they called him in the Justice League. We like him. He's sunny. The thing that they're trying to go for, and I really think they knocked it out of the park. I'm sorry if I'm stammering a lot. This is what happens when you do a movie review off the dome and on the fly. But I can't say enough good things about it. Definitely take a day, take a weekend day, take a matinee show for all I care. Go see Shazam. You're going to be very glad that you did. Because with Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and now Shazam, DC, you can really see with each film's progression, DC is really starting to get their bearings with these movies. And if Marvel isn't careful, because while I did enjoy Captain Marvel, it did show those signs of complacency where we've seen that tried and true Marvel formula for almost 10 years now, where if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of follows point A to point B, point C, point D. And they don't really deviate from that, because why would it? It's made them millions of dollars. Marvel's kind of doing the same thing, where DC is starting to do this, just on this gradual upswing. And if Marvel is not careful, they're going to see some fierce competition out of DC sooner rather than later. But thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate the support. If you've already seen Shazam, by all means, let me know what you think about the movie down in the comments below. And I'll be sure to have more movie reviews for you as soon as I am able. I think the next one on my docket, since I do tend to put an emphasis on superhero movie reviews, I believe is Hellboy. So definitely look forward to that in the next coming weeks. And I will catch you guys later. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.